These are prickly pears. Prickly pears in the genus Opuntia. This species in particular is a cactus apple, or Opuntia inglemanii. And prickly pears are a really important food source for many tribes throughout Texas and the Southwest. The first European in Texas, Cabeza de Vaca, he was basically enslaved by the tribes in Texas to just pick prickly pears full time. Another early expedition into the Southwest, the Coronado expedition, 1540, they talked about the massive stores of prickly pears that the Puebloans had in Sonora. Prickly pears were gathered by the Apache and Tohono O'odham by just bending over a pliable piece of wood to make into tongs. Another method used by the Cáhita was to have a long shaft of cane, and at the tip of it you have a point of mesquite, so you can stand far away and just spear it, and to the point of the mesquite they could add a cross piece so it doesn't go too far, and they can use that as a hook. Prickly pears produce a large amount. These right here aren't quite ripe enough to gather, but they can be split lengthwise and sun-dried. That was really common, and you can remove the seeds before sun-drying them like that. What the Coahuilla did is to sun-dry them with the seeds in, and then lay them all out, and then flail them with a stick in order to release the seeds. And they would take the seeds, dry them, grind them up, and then cook them into a mush that they would eat. The stems were also eaten commonly as well, not when they're mature like this so much, but when they're young and soft and tender in the spring. They're a great food resource. And also the flower buds, they look like prickly pears except they're just smaller and green. I have a whole video about both the stems and the buds if you want to check that out. They had a bunch of other uses as well. So one really interesting one, it was used by the Comanche, Apache, and Kiowa in order to stop bleeding on wounds. So they would take a pad and peel it up or split it open like this, and you see it's really like mucilaginous, and they would apply that to a wound in order to stop the bleeding and prevent infection. And the same sort of a treatment could be applied to swellings to reduce them, or also to infected wounds in order to draw out the pus. The mucilage also had some other cool uses. So it was used as a paint fixative by the Apache, Comanche, and Dakota. So for mineral or charcoal paints, the powder, they would just add this and it would keep it affix whatever surface. The Kiowa also uses it to varnish buckskin. It kind of like has a little bit of waterproofing effect. And it just helps preserve the material. The Lakota made an infusion out of the roots and drank that to treat difficulty urinating. And the Mexican Kickapoo combined the roots of this with the roots of Texas nightshade, Solanum triquetrum, and a decoction of both was drunk to treat indigestion. The spines had some uses. The Kiowa would use a spine in order to lance boils, and it was a preferred needle for tattooing used by the Cahuilla. The Comanche would take the spines and use it to pierce their ears, and they would just break off the stem and the tip and leave it in there as it healed over the hole. The Apache would use the fibers of the prickly pear as a temporary bowstring in an emergency. So the Apache name for the plant, prickly pears in general, is gultis, and the Comanche name for prickly pears is wokwesi. The Coahuilla name for this species in particular, Opuntia inglemanii, is Quexeili, and the Tohono O'odham name for this plant is Nohui. The pink juice from the ripe fruits was used by the Seri as a face paint, and the Navajo used that juice in order to dye wool pink or reddish color. The spines were also used by the Kiowa as an arrow point, but only for small prey like birds. But for a small arrow you affix the tip. The Coahuilla would affix a handle to a spine. You can find some spines that are bigger and stouter than this. They would affix a handle to it and use it as an awl for coiled basketry. The Coahuilla would boil the fruits and drink the decoction as a laxative. And early settlers in Texas along the Rio Grande what they would do is cut up some stems and grill them, and then when they're still hot, you throw it into some silty water, and it'll make the sediments settle so you can drink more clear water. The prickly pear fruits were known to be eaten by the Apache, Cáhita, Coahuilla, Cheyenne, Coahuiltecans, Comanche, Dene or Navajo, the Dakota, Mexican Kickapoo, Panamint, Pawnee, Seri, Tewa, and Tohono